Women Lead, a production of the Women of Color Empowerment Institute. We are your host. I am Bernadette Norris Weeks.
I'm Michelle Austin Pammies.
And I'm Kathy Eggleston.
Today's show is about leadership by women of color in corporate America. As of March 2021, there were 41 women CEOs in the Fortune 500, of which only one is a woman of color, Roz Brewer of Walgreens. This is evidence of the fact that the corporate setting has always been difficult to navigate for women of color. Getting leadership roles as a woman of color in corporate America is a feat.
Well, women of color leaders are everywhere. We now have a woman of color vice president of the United States. We've seen Stacey Abrams fighting the good fight against voter suppression and achieving success in Georgia. These are but a few examples of women of color leaders in politics. Not spoken about as often are the women of color leaders in corporate America.
There are many successful women of color leaders in corporate America, and there are many more in the pipeline. However, they face many challenges. Some of the challenges involve just being a woman in corporate America, and others have to do with being a woman of color.
Well, we're talking about women in corporate America just generally. There are environments that you find very few women in. Both Kathy and I worked in that sector, in the automotive sector.
In the most male-dominated sector, probably, or one of them.
Where the original term of art to describe how skilled someone was and how their leadership potential was, is he a good car guy?
Yeah.
I can't be a guy.
Yes.
And if you were at the top of your game, you were a car guy.
Oh, wow.
So,
like a lawyer's lawyer?
Yeah, exactly. Call guy. And add to that the color factor. The color factor has to do with a lot because one of the issues that always comes up in corporate America is whether someone is a cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
And that person, if they're the right cultural fit, they'll be hired. Of course, nobody's saying this is a racial issue or ethnicity issue when they say cultural fit. They just mean you can fit into that corporate culture.
It could mean that I am wearing my hair a certain way and maybe I don't fit within the culture of the corporation.
We really have to begin to have this conversation out in the open and challenge some of these systemic things that have grown up with cultures and codes and
unspoken, unwritten.
And we know that they have to be spoken and written because when we have to, frankly, legislate people's ability to wear their hair the way they want, which is what we've had to do in this country, it's time to have a conversation about it.
On today's show, we'll be speaking to two recognized and effective women of color corporate leaders. They are Juliette Murphy-Rulak. Juliette is the Regional Director for Corporate External Affairs for Florida Power and Light Company, and Paula Hopkins, Senior Director of Strategy for PepsiCo Beverages North America.
We will be talking with them about their path to leadership while exploring the particular challenges of being a woman of color leader in the corporate context. We will learn a lot from these dynamic leaders, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Women Lead television show is being brought to you by Toyota, inspiring all of us to let's go places.
At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute hosts seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference. a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Welcome back to Women Lead. We are pleased to have with us today Juliet Murphy-Rulek. Juliet is the Regional Director for Corporate External Affairs for Florida Power and Light Company. It is a Fortune 200 company. Ms. Rulek manages governmental and community relations with elected officials and major stakeholders and develops regional strategies for FPL. She is a licensed attorney with over 25 years of complex business litigation and appellate experience. There's not much more that you can say about Juliet, but I will tell you that she is a true friend of the Institute. Welcome to the show, Juliet.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your own career path to your current position as Director of External Affairs.
Well, thank you, Kathy. I would say it takes a lot. It takes a lot. So my own personal experience, I would not say is the magic pill for everyone else, because we all have our own unique experiences. And I say that because I think being authentic is probably one of the things that has helped me most, right? So you have to come up and show up in your own skin as your own authentic self. But I just kind of sharing how I got to my current job today. I did start out in as a lawyer, as many of you are here, and I really thought that during that journey I understood and knew immediately that I had to give back, right, and do more for the community other than just practicing law. And in that moment, I allowed myself to explore diverse experiences, and in exploring diverse experiences, built diverse skill sets. And these transferred so well into the workplace, the corporate workplace. Very young in my career, I became the chair of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women. And that opportunity allowed me to learn how to run a board meeting, work with professional women, and that allowed me, therefore, to take those types of leadership skills and run meetings at my own corporate, office. So those are the examples of things that really matter. My company recognized that I was doing a lot on the corporate stage as well as externally, and kind of built this role for me in Broward, and this has been an exceptional journey. So currently, I work with government officials. We can use the word lobbying, right? Do a little bit of lobbying, but I also do a lot with community relations, working with the whole community to really build the community.
How important is it for you to be involved in that way in the community, and how in the heck do you spread yourself? So I see you chairing everything and involved in all kinds of boards, and I know you do actual work for the company in other ways, and so I'm wondering, how do you find the time to do all of these things?
You have to follow your passion, right? And as I mentioned to you before, early in my career, I realized that kind of giving back and community work really fills my cup. And so, although it does take, it does strain you because you do have to be involved in so many things, it also brings me joy. And so, in doing that, that's the kind of balance that allows me to move forward and do as much as I do. That, as well as a very understanding husband.
Yes, he is.
That works.
Yes, and a supportive company, right? Fortunately, the role that I have does involve and encourage my involvement in the community. So that also works very well.
Yes.
I'm sure you had to advocate for yourself, and I'm sure you had to show that you were ambitious.
Yes.
How did it work out for you in your corporation?
For me, it was speaking in terms of the facts. And this was something that a mentor shared with me because you had to advocate for yourself. And the most comfortable way for me, and a way that was very effective, is to advocate in terms of facts. So if I share with my superiors at the time, or shared upward what I was doing in a memo, it was very factual, not boastful, but there was no question at the end of the day that these were things that were accomplishments that I had achieved. And I think that's a very effective way to do it.
Well, okay, so you are getting a little bit into that discussion of cultural fit and
Yes.
finding your cultural fit, and you said a key word that we talk about all the time at the Institute, mentors.
Yes.
And mentors and sponsors. And so how have mentors played a role in your career development and or sponsors? Do you think it's important? And what are you doing now to be a mentor or a sponsor in your organization?
I don't think it's only important. I think it's an imperative, right? And why do I say that? From my own personal experience, I have been fortunate to have mentors, both outside and inside the company or the corporate setting that I currently work in. And I have had white males, I've had old white males, I've had, Hispanic females. It really doesn't matter. You need somebody who's going to be in your box, who's going to be there to support you and recognizes what you bring to the table. That is who you want to be your mentor. I also mentor, right? I think that, and sponsor within the company, within FPL. And some people come to me and say, I'd like you to be my mentor. And they're shy about it. But I think that that's something that actually makes me value that person more. The fact that they would stand up, recognize someone that they want to work with, and ask for it. There is nothing like asking for what you want, right?
Let me ask you if you suffered from any microaggressions at all in the workplace, and we're here, we're the women of color, and we are here to talk about issues that affect women of color in the corporate setting. So anybody made you feel less than, or any type of microaggression that you've encountered, and how you cope with that?
Absolutely. So the one incident that comes to mind is a fellow female colleague, and that always is intriguing when you assume that all women will kind of support each other or help each other. But a woman who I was a colleague who I really didn't interact with that much, although I had tried to, comes into my office one afternoon crying. And so I immediately embraced her as a human being, seeing someone in distress. And she said she was so very upset because her nanny just quit, and she wondered if I had any friends or family members who would be willing to step in. And so, again, that was so clearly based on a bias. She assumed because I was a black woman, and perhaps that I'm Jamaican descent, that I would be able to easily facilitate, call my sister and ask.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, I got a job for you, girl.
Exactly.
I find it hilarious. So now you can laugh at it, but that is an example.
I have to say, that took me by surprise. I thought of anything, because Juliet is like the image of like sophistication.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yet, someone that it's a question of perspective.
I have to move off of that for my own sanity.
Yes.
But my perspective on you, Juliet, is that you've been at FPL for a long duration in your career, and I see you as someone who is immensely effective and totally in alignment with your company and your company's interests, which you have to be if you're going to be an effective leader at that level. And on the other hand, I see some professionals out there, I won't name any names, who seem as though sometimes, they're being taken hostage by their company,
Right.
and, kind of spewing a line that they don't believe in for a paycheck. Let's just talk about power. How do you wield your power in those rooms where it matters?
So, first of all, I'm really pleased to hear you say that how I present externally seems to be very much in alignment with the company that I work for, because one of the things that makes that true for me is my personal values aligns with the corporate values, right? And FPL's 3 corporate values are treat people with respect, do the right thing, and be committed to excellence. And those are things that really resonate with me, and not having seen them before I went to the company, those were also my personal values. So going back to the second part of your question, power. Power is something that brings with it influence. And I often think, instead of thinking of somebody who's powerful, I prefer to think of myself as someone who's influential, because power is so often abused, and it's often seen often in a negative way, right? But I do understand that influence is power. Let's, make no mistake about it.
You are a true inspiration. You're a friend of the Institute. You're a perfectionist. You're a great leader. And we really thank you for being a part of the show today. And best wishes for everything that you do.
Thank you. And congratulations to the tremendous growth that I've seen with women of color.
Alrighty, well, we want to thank our guest, Juliet Murphy-Rolhack of FPL Corporation, for those wonderful nuggets of wisdom. I'm going to be taping this show. You probably should too. But first, we'll be right back after these messages.
At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute holds seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference, a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Women lead.
Welcome back to Women Lead. We are here with Paula Hopkins, Senior Director of Strategy for PepsiCo Beverages North America. She's someone who truly cares about diversity, inclusion, and equity within corporate America. Paula has been instrumental in leading many diversity and inclusion efforts across PepsiCo. Her efforts have helped create a more inclusive culture, and she has assisted a generation of professionals to excel in their careers at PepsiCo.
I am honored to be on the show today, and I wanted to also recognize Juliet. I'm honored to be sitting next to you on this show.
Paula, we know that your path to corporate leadership is particularly interesting. Tell us about your background prior to joining PepsiCo.
This year, I will celebrate 29 years at PepsiCo. So when I think about your question, I think about the fact that I had the privilege to lead in a variety of areas such as finance, operations, sales. I'm now in this amazing strategy and execution role. My last role was really around the senior sales director, general manager, where I got the unique opportunity to lead over 750 employees to make, sell, and deliver Pepsi in South Florida. But what I'm probably most excited about, the thing that probably shaped me, and I will say shaped me the most, was early in my career, I got to raise three amazing children, two daughters, one son. And as it related to supporting the community, my husband owned and operated a barbershop directly in the community for over 30 years. So that experience is probably what shaped me the most.
Please describe what your current position at PepsiCo is and what part of the organization you are responsible for.
I think this job may be my best one yet, believe it or not. So I get the unique opportunity and privilege to lead a lot of the thought leadership around strategy for our organization. I'll get to work in spaces such as transformational change, communities, partnerships, executional go-to-market changes, and also just opportunities around next-gen growth opportunities. The other thing I'm excited about this strategy role is that I get to partner with PepsiCo on our what we'll call our racial equality journey planks, whether it's people, business, and community, and make transformational change in that space.
Paula, what have you seen to be key strategies for women of color within corporate structures? Is there a particular temperament or skill set that's desired?
Wow, what an awesome question. And actually, this is an area where I not only did my research in, that I'm continuing to have a ton of passion for this space, because what I've come to realize is the fact that when you skillfully level the playing field as you work to attain higher levels of leadership, there's several strategies you can actually do, but two that consistently show up. One is around networking. So this idea of having strong partnerships, whether it's mentor and sponsorships, seeking out those is really, really one that I'd say continue to work on. That one is great. The other one that I'm exploring and having a ton of conversation around, not just personally, but also with other women in the organization, is this idea of negotiations. Believe it or not, as leaders, we negotiate not only on behalf of ourselves, our organization, other people. When we can look for ways to be better in this space at negotiating, I think we're going to make even more success strategies for women in corporate America.
You must have come across colleagues or people who report to you who are not receptive to a woman of color in leadership. How have you managed those situations?
First of all, when I come across these individuals, I first think and thank God that they report to me and I'm not in a subordinate position of them. But in all seriousness, I think that when people appreciate a person that builds great teams, collaborates, make people feel valued, they'll turn it. As leaders, we do have to spend some time and resources getting into a person's mindset. However, once I figure out if it has anything to do with biases or prejudices, my time and resources do not go for that. I challenge the organization to be better and also the person.
A question we asked the prior guest, which we must ask you again, is have you suffered from any microaggressions and insensitive comments from your peers at work at any point in your career? Any comments that were meant to make you feel less than?
I've had some happen to me, but more importantly, I've witnessed more being done to other people that probably bothered me even more. I've had people such as block seats so I couldn't sit next to them. They've ignored me in my physical and my verbal sense. They've also even made comments, whether it was about my heels, hair, or even my curves. The list is long, not only in what I witnessed, but also what I experienced. One of the things that I found more valuable than anything, especially for people when I witness it against them, is that using your voice and influence to not only address it, but also care enough to educate the person that actually done it. You get a long way from that, but yes, the answer is yes.
Paula, will you share your thoughts on what can be done to support the growth of other women of color leaders in the pipeline and include anything you think would have benefited you had it been available to you earlier in your career?
From a personal standpoint, my challenge to myself and women, and definitely to my two daughters, is maintain energy and positive focus. And make no mistake, work life balance is personal for everyone. And being a superwoman is a myth. That is not true. But finding out what interferes with your productivity, being your best version of yourself in your professional and personal life, and happiness is key in this area. The second dimension is the challenge to organizations. Maya Angelou said it best. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So when organizations create a culture where diversity, equity, and inclusion is valued and everyone feels valued, it has the greatest impact not only in the organization because it's great for business, but also on the person that's operating inside of your organization. And you know what? Let me add a third dimension. The third dimension is women of color have a set of unique opportunities inside of the organization. So the challenges is for the organization to actually pull women of color into the organization and actually create that space for them.
Paula, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for being a friend of the Institute. That's our time today, and until the next time,
Be empowered.